Good morning, children. Welcome back. So today we start with a new lesson, that is chemical reactions and equations. You're somewhat familiar with molecular formulas, valencies, how to make molecular formulas. Last year you have studied something about it. This year we are going to study about chemical reactions, how to convert reactions into equations, and how to balance those equations. What are the various types of chemical reactions? All this we are going to study this year and in this lesson. So let's start with some introductory question answers which are always there. Like, can you recall? The first question is, what are the types of molecules of elements and compounds? So we have basically monoatomic, diatomic and polyatomic molecules. Those which are having only one atom in them, they are monoatomic. For example, all inert gases, they are monoatomic. Helium is He, neon is Ne, and so on. So they are monoatomic. Only one atom is present in them. Then diatomic, we have got like we have got oxygen molecule O2. Then we have got N2. Then we have Cl2, that is chlorine, Br2, that is bromine, I2, that is iodine. So they are all diatomic molecules. Then we have polyatomic also, those which are having more than two atoms in them, they will be polyatomic. Now these will include ozone, for example, is O3. Then we can have even so many different types of molecules which are more than one type of atoms in them, like CO2 or NO2 or SO2 or H2SO4 and so on. So these are basically the different types. We even have polymers which have got thousands of atoms and molecules present in them. So that is what is the first question, that is the different types of molecules of elements and compounds. So whereas when only one type of atom is present, like it is present in N2 or O2, as I gave you the example Cl2, only one type of element is present. But like if we have H2O or CO2, we have got different types, two different types we have got here. If you take H2SO4, there are three different types. So these are the examples. Second question is, what is meant by valency of elements? So this we have studied in periodic classification. That is, valency is determined by the number of valence electrons, or you have even studied that the number of electrons accepted or donated, or the combining capacity of an element. All these are definitions for valency. The third question is, what is the requirement for writing molecular formulae of different compounds? How are molecular formulae of compounds written? So what are the three essential things? Three essential things that we need to know is the valency we should know of the element, we should know the name, and we should know the symbol. So all these three things are essential for writing down the molecular formulae. If we know the valency, we can easily cross the valencies and we can make the molecular formulas. So these were three introductory questions, that is, can you recall? And now we move on to the next slide and we start with the lesson. So here we have our first slide that tells us about the physical and chemical changes. But before we go to the difference between physical and chemical changes, there is a question that why do elements combine with one another? Why do they react with one another to give rise to molecules or various compounds? So the reason is but obvious, that every element tries to achieve the electronic configuration, that is the outermost electronic configuration, to the nearest inert gas. Inert gases have either duplets or octet in their outermost shell. Duplet means having two electrons in the valence shell that helium has, and remaining all the other inert gases have 8 electrons in their valence shell, that is, they all have octet, and so they become very stable. So every element tries to achieve the state of octet, that is having either 2 or 8 electrons in their valence shell. And in doing so, in achieving so, they have to either give electrons, they can take electrons, or they can even share electrons. And while they are doing so, they get into chemical combinations. And that is the result why we have so many different types of molecules and so many different types of compounds. So I hope you have understood this. Now whenever an element gets into a chemical combination, it results in the formation of a bond, and this bond is called as chemical bond. So whenever an element combines with other element or elements, it results in the formation of a new compound, and these new compounds will be having different types of bonds between the elements, atoms of the elements, and these bonds are chemical bonds. So chemical bond is formed between the new substances. Now there were a number of scientists who were experimenting, and they found that there are several changes taking place. They divided them into two categories, physical and chemical changes. Now they noticed that those which were physical changes, only physical properties of the substance changed. That is, boiling point, melting point, temperature, the physical state of solid, liquid, gaseous state, the density, all these were physical properties. So only physical properties of the substance changed. It was also a very temporary change, and it lasted only for a few minutes, some time it lasted, and after that they again could go back into their original form. So they categorized that some changes are physical changes where only physical properties change, and the change is just a temporary change. Whereas they found that there are certain changes which are permanent. Once a permanent change has taken place, you cannot get the original substances back. Means it is involving some chemical reaction between the substances which has resulted in the formation of an altogether different substance. So they categorized this way into two, and they gave rise to two types of changes, that is physical change and chemical change. So what we are going to study in this slide is the differences between the two. They are very easy, and let us just go through them. The very first point is physical change is a temporary change, a chemical change is a permanent change. So the best example that we always give is of water. That is, water when it is frozen, it will get converted into solid, that is ice, and when water is heated, it gets converted into vapor. But we know that vapor when condensed gets back to liquid state, that is water, and water when refreezed gets converted into solid ice. So it's a reversible process, it's a temporary process change that has taken place, and we can easily get back the substances. So it's a temporary change. Chemical change is a permanent change, as they have said here. So the best example would be of sodium chloride. Sodium is a metal, it is highly reactive, and it is always stored under kerosene because it is highly reactive with oxygen. So it is stored under kerosene, and chlorine on the other hand is a poisonous gas. But when sodium and chlorine combine with one another, it forms sodium chloride, which is a part and parcel of our everyday life and the food that we eat. The food doesn't taste good if we do not have salt in it. So the properties of sodium chloride are very different from sodium and chlorine. So various examples we'll see in the consecutive points. Let's go to the next point. Some example of physical changes: freezing of water, melting of wax, boiling of water, etc. So these are some physical changes. A few examples of chemical change are digestion of food, burning of coal, rusting, etc. So these are some very good examples from our everyday life. We find that when the food that we eat is highly complex, but once it goes inside the stomach, it is broken down into simple form, and that simple form cannot be converted back to the complex, or the original food cannot be obtained back. Burning of coal. Coal, we know that it is carbon. When it is burnt, it is left only with ash, or some smoke is given out. So you cannot get the original coal back, and that is a irreversible process, and that we know that coal is a non-renewable source of energy. Rusting, iron articles have a tendency, or they have got a lot of affinity or liking towards moisture, that is water and oxygen. When it comes in contact with oxygen and water, that is moisture, it gets converted into rust. Iron oxide is formed, whose properties are different from iron, and you cannot get the iron again back. So we have to prevent this reaction from happening, because it lessens the life of the iron particle, and the iron is used extensively in building bridges and ships and so many different places, buildings, etc. So this is a chemical change. Third point, in a physical change, no new substance is formed, and in chemical change is always accompanied by one or more new substances. So this point is also clear. Physical change is easily reversible, that is, original substance can be recovered back. Chemical changes are irreversible, that is, original substance cannot be recovered. So this point also we have discussed earlier in the points and with examples. So we'll go to the last one. When a substance undergoes a physical change, its composition remains the same, only its molecules get rearranged. So water, whether it is in solid, liquid or gaseous form, the composition is same. That is, it comprises of only water, that is H2O. Only thing is that in solid it is very compactly arranged, whereas in water the molecules are little away, and in gaseous state they are very, very far away. So it's just rearrangement of molecules, but the composition is the same. When a substance undergoes chemical change, its molecular composition is changed entirely. Thus, chemical change involves the formation of new substance. So, chemical changes are associated with formation of new substances. Or in other words, we can say that whenever a chemical change takes place, it is always associated with a chemical reaction, which we are going to study next. So this is a very important point, that every chemical change is associated with a chemical reaction, and the reaction is taking place between substances which are called as reactants, that is, those substances which react with one another, they are called as reactants, and the substances which are formed as a result of the reaction between the reactants are called as products, or the new substances that are formed are called as products. So this is what we have to study in this slide, that is differences between physical and chemical changes. And now we move on to the next slide. The next slide is going to be telling you about the examples of physical and chemical changes.